Good morning. Welcome back to the second video about the second game. I haven't got the most definite block of time this morning, so I think the plan is just going to crack on with that list of little refactors and tidies that I'm considering and see how far we get. So let's pretend I can type, get to the README. I think this pos dim change is the first thing I want to think about because I don't know, I think it sounds useful. Refactored the renderer so that assets can be added more easily, because currently we just have two fields and we may want more or less than that. And screen resizing being nicer, I think. We basically hacked this in very quickly. Trying to think where an obvious starting point would be. I think probably let's start with the pos dim stuff. So we were playing with this a little bit. Here we are. So a clanker showed something that was useful and then immediately lied to us about everything else we wanted to know. But we now know this trick. So you can use a raw union to have fields within a struct both refer to the same block of memory. So you can have a vector, and then you can provide names for the elements of that vector, which is kind of what we want, I think, because it means that we can still... Oh, sorry. We can still use those vectors directly if we want to. And Odin has nice support for operations on, I guess, on vectors like that. But we can still keep the nice names, which is really what we want, like pos and dim for, right? We don't want it to be passing around unlabeled, like two F32s like this, because, well, it's rife with room for us to forget what we're doing and to make mistakes. And then what we're doing down here, and then you can't do operator overloading, which feels a shame in like only this case. But we can do explicit function overloading to try to make like a set of functions like add, subtract that behave sensibly. So let's go find pos dim. We're in here. So, just trying to think out loud. Do I want to just keep using 232 or do I want to make a vector type? I'll just use 232 directly. So, you'd have to come in here and say that you're actually a raw union struct. And then we say that V is a field that is two F32s. You have to make a struct like that. Is that the trick? You have to do using to pull it into the namespace, so it's not got an actual name. It's just pulled into namespace. And then for pos, we do have X and Y. So is that stupid then? Because I don't know. Does that gain us anything over just having pos be a type alias? You can just do that, right? No? Maybe? Revealing how unfamiliar with the Odin type system I really am. Let's have a look. Odin reference. I thought there was a type keyword. You can type alias. If you want a distinct type, you have to put distinct in there. Aggregate types will always be distinct even when named. Right, so I want that to be distinct because I want you to have to pass a pos. I don't want the pos to just be another name for 2F32. Dim has to do our trick. So it's a raw union struct a v field, which is 2F32s, and then using underscore. Oops, put that back. You're a width, and you're a height. That's not the way we do it. You have to say it's a struct. You don't know what it is yet. No? So they did this. I didn't think so. What am I missing? As struct raw union. So Baz struct raw union. Ah, you don't put struct here. It just is raw union. V is that type, comma, using struct fields. Why didn't that work? Right, let's see. Do you run? You don't run. Syntax expected semicolon. But why? It says struct first. That's the reason why. God damn it. Okay. And then I'm not sure if we're going to need grid pos and grid dim. We might. I might make distinct types for these. And so, okay, let's have vec. Floats. Be a distinct 2F32. Vec2i. Be distinct to I32. Right. Should make that just a vec2i. I would make you a struct raw union where your vector is a two-dimensional integer vector using struct like that. Except we can also do that trick like that. Okay. And then in here, what's the matter with this? You're not allowed to set width and height then. Error dim. Compound literal. Only allowed to contain up to one field. Got two. So what we can say is v equals that. Right, oops. So you'd have to do something like that. It's confusing. I don't understand why you can't do the other one. That one works. I can't do this. W equals that. That's blown up. Or sticking that into a... Should we try the clanker again? If you've watched any of these videos, you probably picked up that I'm not a huge fan of these things, but I think they do break up error messages quite nicely. I'm not saying we trust what it says for certain, but I think it helps point you in the right direction. All fields share the exact same memory address. Dim is a math vector alias. And then you have to do named fields like that, which doesn't really help, does it? Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the way that these raw unions work is they have a single field that every one of those single fields occupies that same a bit of space. Which means it makes sense that it can only take the one thing because it's referring to that one block of memory. Okay. Oh, I'm happy I looked that up. This is going to be a lot the same fix then, is we now need to do v equals... Well, we can see if this is actually an improvement or not. V equals that. Oops, and that. And that's because it's not using the same thing. Yeah, I think that's worse. All right, let's go ahead and say then struct. If I'm going to do this, I want the behavior to be the same across these two, right? X and Y are F32. And similarly down here, that will be a struct hash raw union. The vec2i using underscore struct. X and Y, I32. Jump back. See, that is a shame because that is nicer, whereas I have to do this. Right. Could you make a function for each of them, but then that also feels a little bit bad. Let's roll with this and see how it works, because actually refactoring back would be pretty trivial. Let's go ahead and do nya. Do nya. So that's got them all working. Now the whole point of doing that is to allow us to come in here and define add pos as a proc. It's P1, P2. Should we do left, right, both pos, returning a pos, where we're returning pos the equals L.V plus R.V. Go ahead and add the relevant things in. That left, right, dim, dim, returns dim, v equals L.V plus R.V. Then add grid pos. Left, right, dim. Nope. Grid pos gives us grid pos. Return a grid pos. V equals L.V plus R.V. Add grid dim. Left, right, grid. Dim, grid. Dim. Turns grid, dim. V equals L.V plus R.V. Right? So, given we have that, is it worth pulling the function overload into another file, or are we likely to get more than just this? I'm not sure. I think I'm leaning towards putting them down on the bottom here. So we would then have the add as a proc group with add pos, add dim, add grid dim, or add grid pos, add grid dim. Not how you do that. Is there already an add function? Odin, add. I don't know how you search for that. Better than that. Hang on. That'd be kind of painful. No, okay, it's mine. Yeah, we delete that. Phew. And then, yeah, we could delete all of that because that was just us experimenting. Come back to here. You can just add. Cool. Is it worth doing the rest? Possibly. I don't know. We go have a look and see if we have anywhere where we're doing this sort of maths. Best way to do it, if I did search for the word pos. I'm looking for places that seem like they're doing a lot of maths. Durable pos to screen pos is an annoying one because it's doing a load of shuffling around. What are you doing? So that's not generating a pos, is it? That's just getting a load of other stuff. That's what we're sending to the GPU. So actually, maybe this wasn't worth all the effort. Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do is I'm going to put these basic arithmetic things in. And we'll just see if they end up being useful or not. So left minus right. If we find that we actually never end up using these, then the lesson. This was a waste of time. But If it turns out to be useful, we've got a new trick in our belt. V is L dot V minus R dot V. This feels like something you could probably like generate, right? They're very samey. But again, when there's only 4 of them, it feels like you're better off just writing them out instead of thinking about it too hard. Turns us a grid pos. That is V is L dot V minus R dot V. And sub grid dim. Right, grid dim. Actually thinking about it a little bit now, obviously I've cut out all of the old game logic. Which is probably where this stuff would have come up a lot. So maybe it's not surprising that we then find that there's not a lot to do with this. Hang on. Let's user brains. Go ahead and say in here. Ads become subs. Easy. And then what? Rescale. Let's call it mole. Let's do this. So let's come in here. Ads become moles. And this lot, ads can become divs. This is useful to do. This kind of covers all the bases, isn't it? Mole's more interesting because it's going to be by a scalar. Do you want the scalar first? So we go scalar is an F32 and vector is a pos. We'll return us a pos. I think we're just wrapping it, right? We're saying that pos where v is equal to s times that's really derpy, isn't it? Call you vec so we can tell you apart. Div again, which should be a scalar. Vector returns pos v equals maybe just for consistency then that's an argument to do this. Right. Now you can watch me boringly type that out over and over. Vec dim turns dim v equals vec v times s div pos or div dim is a proc sf32 you're a dim returns a dim v is vec v over s. Now these ones are integers. Does that change anything? Mole grid pos probably scalar I32. It was going to give us a grid pos back out. I think we need to stick to integer arithmetic. Which is probably what we mean, right? So mole grid pos by an integer scalar with a vector grid pos. Give us a grid pos I'll say in here returns grid v equals vec dot v times s. That should just work. Div grid pos proc scalar 32 vec grid pos grid pos. And again, we're just going to use the exact same operation so that it's not surprising. So they'll all be flooring, I think, but if you're messing around with integers, that should be on your mind anyway. So mole, grid dim, all that. Scalar, I32, vector, grid dim, turns us a grid dim. So returns grid dim v equals vec dot v times s. Div grid dim procedure scalar I32 vec grid dim something like that. Okay, let's see if that's useful. I don't think it hurts to do. And if it turns out that that's more annoying than it is helpful, we'll just abandon it, I guess. What it's worth, I think this is a neat little trick. So even if it ends up not useful here, I think this is worth knowing. Right. Define add sub mul div. Yeah, that's all we've done. Okay, let's find out if that was a useful one or not. So refactor pos and dim easy arithmetic. I'm wondering if I'm mixing two changes there. Because this could still totally work. Oh, wait a bit, like comment. There you go. If I just define you like I had you in the olden time, I think this makes the point here, right? It means that this can no longer do that, like just add the two vectors. So you have to come in here and say x is equal to left dot x plus r dot x, y is equal to l dot y plus r dot y. I don't know. That feels more annoying to me than this does. Right. So you can get the arithmetic improvement, but right, that's where we want to be. Cool. Cool. Let's see. README. Refactor the renderer to texture assets and loading is less hard-coded and more extensible. That one might take a little bit of time. We'll save that for now. Same as screen resizing. Same as dynamic rendering. So does that, probably. I'm looking at the time. It's almost 7, which means I could have like 2 minutes left, or I could have like an hour left, which makes it a little bit hard to know what to do. Should we have a look at loggers? So far, if I've wanted to log something, I've just put a print in, right? So if we go have a look at like VK fatal. Oh, sorry. In here. No, I've just kind of manually said print a thing. It might be nicer to have like a more structured logger that lets me have stuff that's info, stuff that's debug, stuff that's error. Oh, sorry. And then I can set a flag to say what level of output I want, because often I found that whilst debugging stuff, I'm putting in print statements, which is information that's then obviously useful for understanding that little chunk of information, and just kind of getting a quick. I want to see quickly, like, what the state of the thing was. It all goes like whizzing by, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was happening in that order. That's, I think, the main benefit I want to get. And it might just be down to the fact that I'm bad at using my debugger. I'd rather have that in a set of log statements rather than have to run everything through GDB every time or something. It kind of, I don't know. It gives you a steer to go and look in GDB if you look at it and you're like, I didn't realize those would happen in that order. Right, that's wrong. So I don't think it's a bad idea. And I think it also means we could dump useful information to file. So if we end up having a thing that's big and messy, if we've got a logger set up that usually just prints to console, but I could provide a log file and have it dumped to file so that you could scroll around it and dig into the same case over and over to investigate. I think that also sounds useful. I added this because I found that there is a log package that I've never used. That goes with context.logger, which I don't think I've ever used. This seems worth poking at least a little bit, right? I guess in the spirit of messing about with it, what's my actual logger at the minute? Can I come in here and just say format print line context.logger? It's on there, right? Cool. So it has a procedure, logger level, string. Bit set for options. It understands the current source code location. That's interesting. Data that's currently null, so I guess you can attach arbitrary data to them. Lowest level debug, options, bit set, logger options. There's two of them. I missed some like brackets somewhere. Is that two separate things? Okay. I don't know. Can we see our logger type in here? Logger. This is what we're just looking at. That doesn't look as complicated as the other thing we were just looking at. So procedure data, lowest level options. Procedure. Okay, procedure is a procedure that takes all this stuff. And then there, yep, okay. Got you. Related procedures with parameters. Logger proc, that type, yep. To type proc these things. Multi-logger data is just a bunch of loggers. Interesting. A logger option is just the level, date, time, short file path, long file path, line, procedure, total color. What procedures do we have? We have asserts. We have debugs. We have ensure. What does ensure do? Proc, condition, message, log. Oops. Okay. Fuck that then. Let's look at fatal, because the first thing we're looking at here says fatal. What have we got? We've got fatal that takes var args, type any with a separator, or we have a fatal F that takes a format string and then args. Interesting. I mean, just fatal seems like the easier of those two to use generally, right? If I come in here and I say, do I have to do context.logger? I can't just do logger. Context.logger dot. No, that's not how you do it, is it? Can I say in here import core log? And do log fatal foo7 log info bar number 6. Okay, that didn't do anything obvious. Did it output a file? I mean, it'd get ignored if it did. So what does fatal actually do? Fatal calls log. Log takes the context.logger. Logger procedure is not nil. Level is less than logger.lowest level. Runtime default temp allocator temp guard. Use the temp allocator. And then it just calls its procedure. So what does the default procedure do then? Is there anything that tells me what the defaults are? Does the Odin language reference? I'm assuming this must have a chunk in it about the way context works. Selector maps. Damn it. Not a chunk in here about context. Is it in the documentation rather than in the overview, maybe? Demo file. Implicit context system. Yeah, so it is. You even shout to it in here that this is a useful thing about the implicit context systems that you can get hold of these things. Give an example showing how you do it. I just don't know what the default behavior is meant to be. It doesn't seem to do anything when I call it. I guess we could open up the debugger, step into it. Running tests, nightly build, FAQs. Getting started. No, I don't think any of this is what I want, is it? Ooh. Default console logger opts. Unsure what to do with that. Create a console logger. Try that. We're in here. Like I say, at that point there, I don't seem to get anything. If I now come in here and we go log, create console logger, is everything optional? Lowest is debug, so it just shows everything as default opts. I don't know what that identity spell. Has an allocator on it. No, it still doesn't do anything, does it? It's not like there's a flush or something I have to call. Right. I'll tell you what we'll do is let's get into there. We're doing a debug build, aren't we? Yep, we are. Can I remember? If I do GF2 here, does it open it in that space? This is just a wrapper around GDB that I discovered via Soding that just, I think, makes life a little bit easier. Yeah, so we are in build. It's called main.bin. Should be able to come in here and say /main.bin. And I should be able to say in here break main start. We come back. I would like to take a breakpoint somewhere in here. Say there. That adds a breakpoint. Nice. Right. You keep running. We're now at this line. Step into it. So it creates console logger, even though I've not called that. So that's good to know. Sets these all as defaults. Data is a new file console logger data allocator. Copy slice. Is it like a step out? Was it F? Runtime new proc cannot access. I don't know how that works. Okay. You continue, you set a load of stuff. Ident gets set to nothing. Returns us our logger. Fatal should call log. Where our logger procedure is not nil. I don't know what nil logger proc means. Nil logger proc. No, it doesn't seem to know either, does it? Can you not delete these? Okay. That's not useful to us. That's not useful to us. We must have logger procedure equals nil logger proc, right? Then we exit out. So what wiggity what is logger proc? Do I need to set console logger proc? They're not used in here. So default console logger opts. There's shite on it. I don't know what that's about though. So what even are you? Do I have to do something like context.logger? Create console logger. What, this doesn't set console logger proc. No, that does. But don't have to do that manually because it's done in that. Hey. That seems rather silly, doesn't it? But that does get us this, and presumably if I want to, I can come in here and I can say lowest equals something else. No? Is it all done by position? That seems daft, doesn't it? Only show me errors. What's your type? Thing. Level. Log dot level. No? What am I doing wrong? Has no field error. It's not like that. It's like that. So do that and it'll only show me fatal. So I do a log error. As log debug. Running out of stuff. We do like that. Now we can see. Okay, so it goes time to seconds, which might be okay. We can tweak that, I guess, by setting a different logger proc. If we really care. All right, so you're in here. Console logger proc takes options, it takes data, it casts to that, takes H. If level less than error. Oh, interesting. It does some like rerouting to decide whether you're going to standard out or standard error. Squirrely. Then it calls this private one. The private one says, given a file, ident, level, text options, location, backing, note from Hoage, might be too much for a head. Unless someone has really long paths. Okay. Do level header. Is that what makes us? Oh, there's a lot of color handling. Oh, does this look nicer if I do it in a proper terminal? Is that what that means? All right, so let's set lowest is debug. Surprised I can't just do that. I can just do that. That's nicer. If we go and do that in a proper terminal, /run sh. Yeah. That is nice, isn't it? And then depending, if we find that there's something where we care about more precise than second times, we could dig further in. But that looks useful. At least a starting place. I'm curious about this file logger now. So we're in here and we've got file logger. Doesn't seem to be used anywhere. We create file logger though. That just takes a file. You have multi-logger that takes a bunch of loggers. So can I actually say here that I would like to say console logger equal to log create console logger. Create me a file logger. These two can be different, right? You require a file, presumably. We'll think about that in a second. Let's say loggers. Console logger. File logger. Then, what do you have to say? You have to say you're a slice of logger. And then in here, if I say you create a multi-logger of console logger. That's a point. I can't just do loggers, can I? You have to go console logger. File logger. How do I get you a file? Package OS, I guess. The search button. Nope. Or OS. If I go find file, will it tell me where the useful thing is? Create or new file? Or open? So creates or truncates a named file name. If the file already exists, it is truncated. If the file does not exist, it is created with the permissions default file permissions. Cool. That can be where the difference between create and I think one of them was called new, wasn't it? Why can't I? Okay. Odin package OS. Type file. New file. Returns a new pointer to file with the given file descriptor. Okay, so it uses the file descriptor directly. Nil if it fails. Okay. I think creates what we want then. So let's go in here and just say. So what do you take? Sorry, F option. So if I just say log file, where I would like for log file or OS. Create. Log file OS create. Game2 logs.txt, I guess. Log file if log file assume you're not a bool and you're an actual error. Yep. I don't know what to say. Format eprint line. Log file and die. Or we'll do a panic. Failed to create log file. Zap. We're in here then. If I go cat Game2, it finds nothing. Makes it look like it didn't work, doesn't it? That because it thinks we're still inside of that thing. There we go. Yeah, it did work. Working directory was just wrong. Why did they get fatal error? I was expecting file logger to get me all of them. Do you take options? You don't take options. So what I was thinking is it might be nice to be able to have like, I guess probably console logger set to info and then the file logger set to debug. And then I could have Or even maybe, is there a warning? Let's have a look. Debug. What's that where it jumps to? Debug. God damn it. What's the matter with you? Okay, level. Logger level. Yeah, there is a warning. Let's put a warning in here and just see what that looks like as well. And why? Why are we only getting that? Alright, so my console logger is only showing errors, that's why. Egypt. This is what I was thinking. We come back into here, and we go cat that out. Oh my gosh, cat that out. It's also only got the same stuff as that does. Why can't I set them to be different from each other? Create a file logger. Do lowest. What does it do with lowest? It returns me a logger. Yeah. Right. So if we're in here, we restart, we come to here. I would like to just watch console logger and log file, if that, format a print line, file logger. We're in here, makes console logger, makes its log file, makes file logger. We both have lowest level set, and they should be different from each other, yeah. And yet, so we come into here, create our multi-logger, step into log fatal, which puts us here, which calls log. Calls in context.logger. So now we haven't got those ones, but we have got logger. Should be our multi-logger. Procedure is not nil. If level is lower than logger.lowest level, logger.lowest level is currently debug. But this is logger is our multi-logger, right? So we have to have a think. So it then comes into there, it calls multi-logger proc. It has all this stuff on it. Pulls off data, then for each of its loggers. If level is lower than log.lowest level, we just jump back. Our loggers start with the console logger. The console logger is on warning. And so fatal, both of them should hit, right? So that shouldn't happen, and it should log. It should come back round. Shouldn't happen, should log. Yeah. It keeps going. Cool. If we keep going down to info. So at this point, we're expecting to see that the first logger doesn't log it, and the file logger does log it. So we're in here, step in, step, it calls that with level of info, calls log, step. Oh, I regret stepping into here. Next, we go into that. In our multi-logger procedure, we go step. Can I say here, show me what log looks like? No, that's not very useful, is it? Is it possible to get log.lowest level? So lowest level is currently warning. This is an info. So this one should early return. Yep. And it keeps going. Ah. So do you need to put your loggers in an order? That seems a bit silly, doesn't it? So we go step. We come into here. We're in multi-logger proc. Yeah. If any of your loggers bounce, then they all bounce. Really, this feels like it should be a continue, doesn't it? So if I come in here and I say instead, I want to do file logger first, because it's the more greedy logger. So we get fatal error warn. Get rid of that. If I go cat, my game logs, it's also fatal error. No comprendo. Let's try again. Come down here, we step in, step into log, step down to our logger procedure, we step in. We go step. Why have we still got log lowest level equals warning? Eh? Shouldn't be that, right? Why am I doing something really dozy? Oh, that's what I meant to do. Alright, let's go to our debug call. We know at this point here, so we have file logger, console logger. Console logger is set to warning. File logger is set to debug. I do expect this one, if I go step over. Does the multi-logger have a lower level on it? Yeah, and it's debug, which makes sense because it has a thing in it that is a debug. Which means it's got a procedure set so it can handle. It's got a lowest level within its multi-logs that passes that, so we keep going. Then logger.procedure takes into the multi-logger procedure. Being called for a debug log. Step down. We step down. Log.lowest level is warning. early returns. What? Crazy situation. I just go step, 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 step in. Can I just impromptu change that? No, you can't. It feels like that should be a continue, not a return, doesn't it? Slightly confused though, because I thought I'd change the order of these to make sure. So does it internally do some sorting? Is that what's happening? Am I looking in the wrong spot? Do I need to be looking in create multi-logger? File logger is the one with the debug. Ah, okay, no, I changed the order in my loggers, but that's not what's actually being passed into it. We want to get rid of that. We want to say like this. That will work like we're expecting. So that gets those. But if we go cat mine game2 logs, now it has all of them. Oh, silly. I wonder if that's a bug or if that's intended. Is hang on. Is there a bug multi-logger? Depends on the order of these loggers. Is that expected? Possibly a gap in the documentation. There's nothing in here that makes that clear that I can see. Oh, that's interesting. So it doesn't even do anything clever at this point. It just says make my lowest level.debug. So actually, if I go back to here, set that to only be info. Build. Back to here, do a run. Continue down to here, we step into log. And we can see here that logger, meaning the multi-logger, still has debug. Yeah. So it isn't even doing anything clever. I thought what they were going to be doing there is saying, when you give us your loggers, we look through them and find what the lowest level is. And if we know, for example, that the lowest level you're logging is errors, and this is an info, we can just early exit. That isn't what it's doing. How interesting. Okay. Not sure what to do with this information. I was actually mostly interested to see what does the I think file log is useful for debugging, but if I'm about to have a load of debug log statements littered around in performance like sensitive code, asterisk that our whole game should be pretty simple. So like none of it's that critical. But you know what I'm saying? If we're going to put all these logging statements in because they're useful, probably with a toggle so I can turn them off if I want to like just check that they're not impacting performance. I assume file logger must be doing something clever where it like I don't know creates a thread and then buffers logs into somewhere in memory, and the thread flushes them or something like that. Or when I do this, does it literally like say, "Hello, operating system, I would like to write to this file now," and writes to the file, and we're stuck waiting for it? I actually don't know the answer to that. So let's see if we step into this one. Oh, I missed it. We'll get the next one. Okay, step in. Step in, step in. Step down, takes us a multi-logger proc. You go step, step, step. Fuck. Oh, I'm too stupid. Okay. I think I can hear people are starting to get up upstairs. So I also don't think I've got any time. Let me stick a to-do in here to check that as well. How does file logger actually work? Am I going to cause performance headaches? Is it cleverly using a thread to avoid us waiting? Cool. Well, I don't think we got a lot done there. Well, I guess we did that first refactor that we care about. This has been interesting. It's, I guess, reveals the other option, which is I could just write my own logger. All of this seems too painful. But you can see how much there's a bunch of like annoying wiring that they've already done, which is quite nice. So I don't know. I'll have a think. I might chase around a little bit, see if I can see anything about this, whether it's a bug or expected. But yeah, that's all I have time for today. So I will catch you on the next one. We'll decide what to do with our logger. Anything at all. Right. See you later.